Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience and waiting. We will get through these as quickly as we can. So, can we start with? And I apologise if I'm getting it wrong. Sia, Kira. There we go. Kira Hopley from the Otaki Toy Library, and your partner. G'day, mate. How are you?
Morena, ko Kira Hopley, toka ingoa. Ki Kāti Aki, tanga takaro aho, ki te whare orihia ki Otaki. Otaki Toy Library is in its 31st year of operation. Currently we've got 63 whānau members, which equals 90 tamariki. And we focus on kind of sustainable access to toys for different developmental stages and interests. We're also quite focused on volunteer aspect and community involvement. And over the last year, we have especially been focused on increasing access for 5 to 8-year-olds. So we added a second opening time, Wednesday afternoons, instead of just Saturday mornings, because that we found out from our members that clashed with things like winter sports and other activities, birthday parties, and it was the case that members were dropping off when they got to that age. But now with the second opening time, plus the money from last year community grant for buying toys for that age group, the trend has totally reversed, and we've had a really epic year with loans up 30%. And currently we've got 23 tamariki in that 5 to 8-year-old age range, plus a bunch, including Ronan, that are 4, about to turn 5. So it's really nice that we've been able to hold on to those members. So basically we need to keep adding to that area of toys to keep up with the demand, as well as using our regular budget for the other children, the toys that we buy. So yeah, those toys have been really popular and consistently out. And our plan for this year is to start advertising to the local schools in the newsletters and attracting more members to keep up our volunteer base, which really helps to run the whole toy library.
Kira, a question. Where's the library located?
Within the Memorial Hall.
In Memorial Hall, yeah.
Storage.
And do you have is there a cost to you?
Yeah, so we pay rent for that.
Can I ask how much you pay? I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. But
it's between 800 and 1,000 per year. Yeah.
Okay. And you pay that to council.
Have you still got that car, that little Dodge?
Yeah, we've got a few of those.
Yeah, outdoors we used to have that.
Oh yeah, it's got the police.
Rob used to play with it, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so that was everything. I just want to say thank you for continuing support, for helping us to grow and continue to serve our whānau.
No, does anybody have any questions? That was just my question, was around the cost to you, but yeah.
I was intrigued about the reference to battery-driven toys in your submission. Are they required these days? I mean, that kind of electronic gizmo.
The newer ones, a lot of them charge through USB.
Yep.
So it's not using.
So the next question is, how long do they last?
The ones we've had, they're pretty long lasting. We make sure when they come back, we take the batteries out so they don't rust inside. To make them last as long as possible. But yeah, we haven't seen.
Oh, so it's okay. Good. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say it's great what you do, because actually there's so many toys in our landfill, and somehow we've got to stop that.
Just come across a company that sells carbon zero toys. So I think for next year we're going to move even more sustainable. And the big companies are starting that as well, to be like carbon neutral toys. So yeah, it can be even better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kira. Really, really appreciate your time. And as I've said to others, we've got 40 applications applying for considerably more than is available. So That's not to say it won't be funded, it's just to
Yeah.
let you know that's what we're dealing with.
That's cool. Anything
yeah.
to help him.
Yeah, but thank you very much, and thank you, sir, for helping.
You're welcome. Yes. Huh? There's no toys here.
When you're 18, stand for council. Thank you. Sue from the Nest Collective. Yes, welcome, Sue. Take a seat. Yep, feel free.
Hi, yeah, I'm Sue McFarlane. I'm one of the managers of the Nest Collective in Kapiti. We're based up at the Impact Hub on Tongariro. We've got 7 volunteers, but we get huge input from the Kapiti community. Preschools and other places are our drop-off points for donations, and we have a large number of women who knit and sew for us as well. The Nest Collective works alongside social workers and community partners to provide free baby essentials for families in need. Our packs include the essentials for the first year of life, such as clothing, bedding, books, safety items, and safe sleeping places. And our community partners are the local organisations like Kapiti Youth Support, Salvation Army, Birthright, Waranga Tamariki, iwi Health Providers, and Family Start. As you will know, 1 in 10 children live in households with material hardship, meaning many families face the impossible financial decisions such as choosing between a power bill or warm clothing for their family. Our packs are designed to reduce this sort of inequity and improve the living standards for babies. And our initial focus was on providing this in a sustainable way, and that all the items we give out are obviously safe. So one of our things is that we only provide wool and cotton for babies, because they're well known to be breathable, safe for young babies. And the evidence is clear that what happens in the first year of life impacts children's long life trajectories, so that early investment in children pays off. Last year, in 2023, 73 packs were completed in Kapiti, and so far this year 49, so there's been quite a big increase over this time. And that's probably because we're getting a little better known. The packs contain 90% of the things in our packs are donated, and that includes a lot of good quality but second-hand clothing and bedding, and the crafted items, which a lot of we've got a huge number of volunteers who knit and things like that with it. So we have sort of alliances with, for example, the Somerset Retirement Village, and their knitting group knits for us, as well as various other groups. And we've had assistance from the Men Shed, who made some toy frames for us and have revamped a couple of cots for us, so that's been amazing. So we're trying to work alongside other groups in the community to make this happen. The people who make referrals to us, people like Salvation Army and Birthright, they sometimes also get donated things which they can't use, so they donate to us. Grandparents raising grandchildren do the same. We get sometimes things for big kids, and if people want to donate their stuff, they want to donate it all. So then we pass the big stuff on to them, and they pass their little stuff back to us. And that seems to work pretty well. But there is a shortfall. And we're asking for this grant for funding towards our general pack items. This 10% of the packs we need to buy, and that's things like a merino sleep sack. All families get one of those. The health and safety items such as thermometers and outlet plug covers. nappies, that sort of thing. We're trying hard to encourage families to use reusable nappies, and we do get large quantities donated to us, which either means that there's a lot of people out there using reusable nappies, or there's a large number of people who have bought reusable nappies who don't use them because they're in quite good condition when they come to us. But I think our big advantage is that we work through these community partners. So although we're providing what we want to be as a hand up, we're providing the goods, but not a hand up, because the rest of the organisation who are making these referrals, they are providing the other things. They are providing the support and advocacy and helping the families with housing and with education and all those things. So it's part of a bigger package, not just getting a box of clothes. So, and annually we need to raise about $17,000 to cover those extra things. And
Sorry, so was it 17?
17, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we obviously apply for lots of grants,
Yep.
particularly to cover our rent, because we are in the impact hub, which is an ideal place to be. We've got great space and room to store things, because people do donate the big stuff like cots and buggies and that sort of thing, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
But they do need space.
Great. Thank you very much, Sue. Look, I'll ask if anybody has questions. Just before they do, I just wanted to say thank you very much for what you're doing. I think it's wonderful that the various sort of almost social service agencies, without actually being agencies, are working together so well, which is wonderful. Is that sort of formatted somewhere, or is this just because you know each other? Is there there isn't a collective group?
There is sort of a collective, yeah.
There is?
There is a Pepe Aura collective, which is initiated through the hospital system.
All right.
Which we do have meetings, sort of about every 3 months. That covers the whole of Greater Wellington area, not just Kapiti.
Right.
So our area does extend up to Levin and Otaki as well.
Cool. I am just going to make this statement because, and I'm not being rude, I'm really not, but we've had already about 3 people today have talked about Otaki, and then they've talked about Kapiti, and Otaki is part of Kapiti. Sorry, I just have to say that because it happens all the time. People think of Otaki as something separate. It's actually part of Kapiti. They People's Republic of Otaki probably see it differently, but anyway, just making that point. Does anybody have any questions for Sue? No, that appears. Thank you very much, Sue. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for your time.
I recognise this gentleman, Mark. Mark from Ngā Manu. Welcome.
Thank you. Kia ora katoa. Ko Mark tēnei. I'm from Ngā Manu, and I'm supporting a grant application that we have submitted here. Just a little bit of history in case anybody's unsure. Ngā Manu is a bit of an icon on the Kapiti coast. We've been here for 50 odd years. It's a unique draw card for visitors and environmentalists, and we have something like 25,000 people come through our gates every year. We are led by a passionate team of environmentalists with a small paid staff and a large team of volunteers, so I'm really here to talk about the volunteers today. The day-to-day nature of what they do is quite challenging. We can't put things off. Animals need to be fed, aviaries need to be cleaned, and so that sort of stuff gets done irrespective of whether it's summer or winter. And so we're talking about trying to support our nearly 70 volunteers with some appropriate warm weather gear. And I'll just paint a little bit of pictures of maybe some of the things that they do. We have a Kiwi night encounter which happens at night time and involves going out into a relatively open building for something like an hour. And so that can be quite chilly at this time of year. And so our volunteers, some of whom are of an age, we would like to think that they had something that was going to keep them warm. We also have people who on a daily basis or on a regular basis are out in our reserve. They would be mowing lawns, pulling weeds out, cutting down trees, cleaning paths, and that sort of thing can't stop because we do want to continue to present a clean and professional image to our visiting public. Or even during the day, we could well have people who are coming in for volunteer-led presentations, and so we're quite keen to also present a very professional image to our visitors. So Ngā Manu would be grateful for a grant to supply some hoodies or fleecies, whatever word you want to use to describe them, which we've sourced some prices for about 20 of that team of nearly 70, and some beanies for the people as well, so that they can keep their heads a bit like mine and their ears warm while they're out doing all of the hard work for us. And so that is our simple request.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll just ask if anybody has any questions. John?
I'd just like to ask how important the branding is to you. You mentioned a professional appearance.
We would like people to know that they are representing Ngā Manu if they're in the public space. So the branding, this sort of thing, is important to us. It also protects the asset because it's the sort of thing that then we know is ours and can't end up being just sort of moved off site. You know what I mean?
I do.
We're keen to make sure that we get the best value out of these pieces of equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would make the observation, Mark, too, that Kapiti Council kind of piggybacks on the value of Ngā Manu and its branding as part of the tourism, as part of tourism. It's because Ngā Manu is one of the places here. Yeah. So thank you very much for that.
That's all right. And look, maybe just a thank you, because I think in recent times we were very lucky to have got some wet weather gear with some support of KCDC, but it doesn't rain every day. Some days it is really hot.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Great. Thanks for the work you've done.
Cool.
Cheers. Oh, look at that. We've just about caught up, team. Here we go. John. John Moriarty. And... I got the team here. Okay. This men's shed Kapiti.
Men's shed Kapiti.
Yep. You probably fixed a few chairs at the back while you were waiting.
We probably did.
Yeah. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Atamare, kia ora koutou, talofa lava. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you this morning and to answer any questions you may have about Men's Shed Kapiti's grant application. My name is Tony Annandale. I'm the chair of the Shed Committee, and I'd like to introduce John Moriarty, who's holding two hats, wearing two hats, Secretary and Treasurer, and Cliff Daly, a member of the committee, and is also the chair of our Building Development Committee. I'd just like to recap some of the important points made in our application, if I may. Men's Shed Kapiti is an organisation that exists to support the health and well-being of men in the Kapiti community. We currently have 160 members from across Kapiti, and we meet Tuesdays and Thursdays each week. And on each of those sessions, we have somewhere between 55 and 75 men attending at the shed. Men's Shed provides an opportunity for men who are retired or not currently employed, and in some cases because they have special needs and challenges, a place to meet together. It is an opportunity for us to share our skills and expertise and to collaborate on a wide range of projects for the benefit of the community, schools and other non-profits. And I think you heard an example of that just recently. Equally important, it is a place where we share stories and experiences over a cuppa in a convivial and safe environment to support one another, our families, and I like to think of it as an extended family, really. Over the years, our members have built some great facilities. Almost all of those facilities were constructed by our members. The facilities include a multi-purpose meeting and amenities building, the Men's Shed Kapiti Centre, and is available to other community groups when Men's Shed is not open. We also recently opened a modern and fully equipped workshop in December, which we've called the Peter B workshop, and some of you may be familiar with our friend that's passed, Peter Blackler. So why are we applying for funding for administrative costs? As we've grown and new buildings and facilities have been completed, our overheads for insurance, rates, and other council charges such as power, telecom, cleaning, and consumables for the workshop activities have increased markedly. We have and will continue to try and cover those costs from funding through our membership fees, which we'll seriously have to look at and increasing this year, but don't tell the members yet, please. And a daily attendance due. We also receive koha and donations from work that we do for the community. We also do a small amount of direct fundraising, such as our garage sale, which we held recently, and of course through grant applications. This is proving to be increasingly difficult with a tight economic environment that we all find ourselves in, which includes availability of funding from donors. So I think we're all up against it. So some examples of those increased costs or administration fees as we face. Insurance costs have increased from $3,300 in 2022-23 to an excess of $8,000 this year, and are set to increase next year to something like $13,000. Okay? And if we just looked at that figure alone and looked at our membership, that would mean that we'd need to increase our membership fee to about $80. So it's not insignificant. As I previously said, our meeting and amenities facilities are available for other community groups to use. However, our current lease does not allow us to use the facilities after 4:30 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Oh, sorry, resource consent. Beg your pardon. So this severely restricts the availability for community groups who would like to meet in the evenings. In order to address this, we applied to the KCDC for a variation of our lease to allow the use of using the facilities to meet up to 10 p.m. Monday to Saturday. In this current year, we have incurred more than $15,000 in council and consultant fees for this variation. That has severely depleted our available reserves and challenged our cash flows. A community grant to assist with our administrative costs would allow us to keep our membership fee and daily charge as close as we can to the current fee level as we can. Many of our members have limited resources, and any marked increase in fees obviously could be a barrier for some of them to continue to be members. The social and health and welfare benefits our members, their families and the community who come along to the shed are significant, and we wish to ensure that the attendance costs are not a barrier. We will continue to grow our fundraising, but the combination of the huge increase in insurance costs and costs incurred this year to change the resource consent have significantly, as I said, depleted our reserves. A grant from KCDC this year would assist us to bridge the gap while we work on longer term fundraising to achieve a viable and sustainable stream. Mā loa sui fua. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, one question. The application for variation of the resource consent, how's that going?
I'm pleased to say that it is going really well. We met with the council representative only last week, and we're optimistic that things are moving in the right direction.
Great, yeah. And I just want to say congratulations again. That we had Sue from the Nest Collective in before, who mentioned that the men's shed had helped them out, and we all know anecdotally that you've helped out a whole bunch of these other organisations as well. So,
yeah. I mean, just this morning I had a meeting with the Lions group, who are organising a pest eradication project in the area, and so we've been meeting with them to collaborate with them and to do our bit to ensure that gets off the ground.
Yes, they mentioned.
Marty didn't mention our help
That's right. They did mention that they were going to knock on your door. The Lions did. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I'll just, yeah,
Yep.
I've got one.
Shelley?
Do you collaborate at all with the men's shed in Otaki? Are they quite separate or?
No, they're part of
Your
Men's Shed.
company?
We're all part of Men's Shed New Zealand. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, not as much as we would like to, I must say, because, you know, every shed sort of, once you get there and you get busy, we don't
Yeah.
meet that often. But, you know, we do from time to time as a group, Men's Shed Men's Sheds in the vicinity meet together and collaborate. And
We have given them a bit of gear from time to time because we're a bit longer established.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do, we get donations of gear and things, and we make it available. If we can't use it, we don't need it immediately. We make it available to other sheds in Otaki Gas. And one of the members of your community board, Mike, will make sure that we keep in touch too, which is good. We keep in touch. So
Cool.
yes, we work together to the extent we can, but they run a good little operation and we don't poach. Except about 3 members from our members actually come down from Otaki, and I can't quite work out why.
but we're all part of company. Not all.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, you do a great job. I know there's a lot of work goes on in Otaki from
Yeah.
the men's shed there that helps everyone. So.
And we do get referrals from other sheds for, you know, if they've got projects up here or projects they can't do, then yes, we definitely do. Thank you.
Tony, John, Cliff, thank you very much on behalf of the community as well as coming in.
Cheers.
Champion, thank you. Sam Buchanan, come on down. Sam from the Paikakariki Housing Trust. Welcome.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Paikakariki te whenua tupu, ko Ngāti Haumia te kāinga naine, ko Sam Buchanan tōku ingoa. So I'm here representing the Paikakariki Housing Trust. I'm just going to briefly skim over the work we've done in the last few years, just so it's really a matter of explaining where we're at this present time. So the Housing Trust is a registered charity. It's working on issues of affordable housing in Paikakariki, and slightly some extent in in some of our group, a wider geographical area. So we were formed in 2016. The initial impetus for forming the Housing Trust was a family in Paikakariki being unable to find a rental property within the village, and the Housing Trust was formed in order to purchase a house, rent it back to the tenant with the hope that they would be able to purchase it later on, which after about 5 years in trust ownership, that house was on sold to the tenant. The model we used then was basically to ask people in the community to invest in the Housing Trust with a very low rate of return, and we successfully raised $500,000 from community investment in order to purchase that property. There was a second house that we purchased in partnership with Ngāti Toa from KCDC actually, and that has now been passed on to the Ngāti Toa housing arm, Te Ahuru Moai, and we continue to have a relationship with that group. The other work we do, currently we manage 6 rentals, which we attempt to keep the rent as low as possible, that's all within Paikakariki. Most recently we were able to house a couple whose house had been damaged by fire with a temporary rental, and the property management aspect of our work is actually a slight loss-making operation, quite deliberately, because we're trying to keep our costs low. The other kind of works we've done over the years, during the pandemic, we acted as a sort of a clearinghouse for trying to get people into an emergency accommodation as they needed it during lockdown. We've done several information projects and community workshops, discussions on housing issues, making submissions around housing issues to a number of people. We had a large info project to produce information on how to place secondary dwellings on people's property, the ins and outs of that. We fed into the Wainui Whenua project and the process to return the Budge House to the Farrell whānau. Currently our organisation employs 2 part-timers, mostly myself. I'm I'm paid for 5 to 8 hours a week, and we have another person who's paid to do 1 day a month to handle some of the financials. Everything else has been carried out by trustees and supporters on a purely voluntary basis. And that work, all the work we do, that includes media work, website maintenance, making submissions on issues, community outreach, responding to inquiries, administration, finances, property management. So we're doing quite a lot with very little. We've got very limited resources. And the history of our ability to provide housing is basically that we've been an opportunist organisation where when we see a possibility, we have to very quickly jump on it and see if this is something we can actually do, which is really the only way that a small community organisation can operate in the current climate of housing. It's a requirement to seek out these rare opportunities to provide something that's actually affordable. So at this present time, we want to increase our capacity to take advantage of future opportunities as they arise, which is why we've asked for $1,500 to cover some of our administration expenses, and that will allow us to also contribute towards fundraising plans to try and get a little bit of money in the bank. So what we need to be at the present time, we're hoping to purchase another property. We don't have a particular property in mind, and it is just getting ourselves into a position where we are more agile, which basically means having some money, so that if something does come up, and something will come up at some stage, we'll be in a position to move quickly. The problem with the community investor model that we rely on is that it takes some time to swing into operation. It's not just a matter of going down to the bank and saying, can you give us a mortgage? It's a matter of marshalling a bunch of investors. So the resources we do have is that we've got a very high degree of community trust. We've got very good relationship with previous investors, many of whom have signalled that they would be very willing to repeat that process of investing in a community-owned property. And we've got a growing track record of being able to actually deliver solutions to affordable housing issues. So, yeah, we've asked for $1,500 to cover admin costs, and that will just be a small part of increasing our ability to respond quickly to an opportunity that arises. And if you can't manage $1,500, anything from $5 up would be very welcome. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. That probably equals about the hourly rate for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Questions, John?
You are theoretically paid 5 to 8 hours a week. How many hours do you actually work in a week?
It's very hard to tell, actually, because the nature of property management is I spend an awful lot of time answering texts and emails and things like that from all sorts of spaces, and it's not a matter of, I can't sort of sit down and...
It's more than 5 to 8 hours, though.
It's certainly more than 5 to 8 hours. It's an awful lot of it is just, you know...
You're on the leading edge of what I consider to be market failure in terms of the housing situation. And it appears that there has to be a subsidy somewhere to get into the social housing area, which you are informally doing, I suspect.
Yes.
Where do you think that subsidy should come from? Because you're right there, you know what's happening.
Yes. Well, I think the view of the Trust is that we wouldn't say there is one specific space where social housing subsidies should be coming from. Certainly, I think central government could be doing a lot better, and that's not just subsidies, that's also just in creating a better investor landscape to make housing less profitable to investors and more affordable for tenants and owners. But in a way, I think that all institutions have a role to play with that. We would certainly think local government does have a role to play, and community housing trusts, of course, but I suppose it does come back to the fact that central government tends to set the environment for social housing, and we have concerns about the future, and that's especially for community housing providers and groups such as ourselves, that the work we're doing could be very just, you know, at a stroke of a pen, could be made unviable by central government dictates. So,
You're talking about the income-related subsidy?
well, that was one of our immediate concerns, because, you know, we recently submitted for the long-term plan here on the housing for the elderly, that the council is moving into a community housing provider, which, you know, we're very happy with that, but central government has to create those guarantees in the long term to know how institutions should react to the housing market.
And this leads to my final question. Do you think that the premise of the Affordable Housing Trust as it's proposed is on quite shaky grounds?
I don't really know, because that's, I would have to get in to say what the grounds are. A suggestion in the submission we made on the LGP was that the council needs to seek guarantees from the central government before it moves too far down that road and then suddenly finds that the carpet has been pulled out from under them.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. Most appreciated.
Great. Thank you very much.
I just want to take just 1 minute, and I shall return. Just going to go and see the multiples. We might move them up. Yeah, so we'll take the multiple babies. Just move them ahead if that's okay, if everybody's okay with that. Now, do you need more seating up there?
Yep, okay. And then you can grab a seat if we need to, Brad.
Sorry, it's been a clucky granddad type person. Okay.
Thank you for your help.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Kia ora ko Gemma tōku ingoa, ko Alex rawa ko Liam o ku tamariki. I'm a committee member for Kapimana Multiples. And
Morena, ko Brittany Manawaiti tōku ingoa. This is Anna. It's just about to get stuck. This is Amaya. They're my 14-month-old twins, and thank you for having us today.
Pleasure.
So the Kapimana Multiples Committee would like to thank Kapiti District Council for your ongoing support. The community grants funding has a huge impact on our member families and the Kapiti Rohi. Becoming a parent can be pretty tough, and when you find yourself the parents of 2 or 3 more babies, as someone in our community recently has, it's pretty terrifying. It can result in huge financial, emotional, physical and mental stress, which can continue for the first few years. It's not just at the start, it really can keep going. It's even more challenging currently as our families manage the cost of living and inflation with the huge cost of raising young children. Our role as Kapimana Multiples is to be part of our members' village. We're supporting them in the ways that they need, or if we can't help them, we're trying to connect them with others who are able to help them. We've got 28 Kapiti members, 27 twins and 1 set of triplets. And we've had 3 new Kapiti members in the last 3 weeks. So kind of comes in ebbs and flows. We've asked for $1,755.40 funding for the following. So newborn hampers. We've got a number of voluntary new members officers. All of our committee are volunteers. They buy and deliver essential items like nappies and washing powder and things like that to families who have welcomed twins. And it's a huge awhi. It's like a big hug at a really full-on time when you first get your babies home. Also venue hire for 3 new member connection events. the first 1,000 days are crucial for Pepe, but also for whānau. We want to provide a really safe connection space for families to meet each other, local families, and share experiences and build ongoing relationships. And something that's become clear recently is we have quite a few families who are finding themselves having a NICU stay and they're needing Prem Merino. You have helped us in the past buy merino clothing, which I think 7 years later we are still using and sharing around our families. But those Pepe are at huge risk, and getting them home and being able to lend them merino, I think, is really helpful. Brett, I'm going to hand over to you.
So I guess I'm here today not only because I'm part of the club, but I'm quite a recent member. My pregnancy was quite intense, as you could imagine. I went from 70 kgs to 120 with severe PET. So the risk factors of twins is quite high. I was off work teaching very early. I then ended up having to be admitted into hospital for quite a while. On top of that, I then had a C-section and postpartum hemorrhage, and the twins then ended up in NICU for 4 weeks. So overall, we spent about 8 to 9 weeks in hospital and lived at Ronald McDonald House. Sorry, right?
Yeah.
Bounce this one away. So for us, it was quite an intense time. We also lost our midwife from the region, so we were under hospital care, so the club was vital to us. They were really supportive of our NICU stay, and then just the transition home, it was already quite a chaotic time. So coming home, the Twin Club provided us with meals, merinos, which was also a bit touch and go because we were coming into winter, but we didn't know what sort of weights the twins were going to be. But also providing for 2 in terms of merino in winter, it's just enormous. We also got a twin hamper, which saved our lives because you would have never believed how many nappies you need with 2. And I would say, like, even to coming out 13, 14 months, we heavily rely on the Twin Club for support. So we're really grateful for not only whatever you guys have provided so far, but what the Twin Club continues to do. So thank you.
Ngā mihi, Brett. The support given to local families by Kapi Mana Multiple, supported by Kapiti District Council and some other organisations, as well as fundraising that we do, has a major impact on how well a family adjusts to the arrival of multiples. Thank you. This has a significant social benefit to our Kapiti communities, enabling these parents to adapt to their new role in an environment which makes them feel supported and understood. Tēnā rawa atu koutou, your support means so much to us and to our member families.
Cool, thank you very much. And if you've got any questions, the meeting, where do you meet? Where's the meeting?
So we meet once a month. We have a meeting on Monday next week. We often meet on Zoom, or we enjoy meeting in person. Yeah. And yeah. So do you have is there like a room hire cost? No, so this that is so often we will just meet at a pub.
Sounds like a good idea.
But for the venue hire, so we had been meeting in the library meeting room, and we would meet 3 times a year, and we'd get all of our families with babies under 2 to come together to share experiences and ideas.
And is there a cost to you when you meet in the library?
There was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but we can't meet there anymore, so we're looking for other spaces that we might be able to use.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Either potentially the pool meeting room, or maybe a local kindy, which might actually make a bit more sense with play things on hand. Yeah. Cool. Any other Pātai? Any other questions?
No, look, that's fantastic, and you get the Courage Award, obviously. Well done.
Liam's having a great time over here.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Gemma and Britt, and your beautiful little people for coming in. And someone will get back to you, and Aaron will probably have a chat on the way out.
Oh, kia ora,
But thank you very much. Cheers. we'll just, yep. Okay. Now we have Angela who's going to join us online via Zoom. From Asthma New Zealand, and we'll just see what happens with the
Can you
technical.
hear me?
Can hear you, but we can hear you, but we can't see you. So
I know. I'm just saying that I'm just clicking on the video and it's saying failed to start the video camera. So I'm not too sure why. I'll try. Oh, here we go. Start my video. The co-host needed to sign me out. Oh, can you see me now?
Just about.
not unless you're in a very dark room.
No, the co-host has just allowed me to use the video, but it's still not doing anything, unfortunately. Let me try one more thing. No, it's saying failed to start the video camera, unfortunately.
Well, we can hear you, and your voice is very clear and distinctive. So quite happy for you to chat.
Okay, let me just try one more.
Sometimes there's a little button on the side of your computer. There is on mine. I've had this before where I didn't have a clue what was happening, but it's a little on-off at the side of the computer for the camera.
Probably turn my whole laptop off. No, I can't see that either. It does say something about going into the settings and clicking something else, but I'm not too sure if I should start playing around with that. If you're happy with me just to talk, then
Yeah,
maybe
look, that'll be fine.
Sorry
That'll be
about
fine,
that.
Angela.
So I'm Angela Brown. I'm from Asthma New Zealand, and I'm the Grants Relationships Manager. So I apologise for not being there in person, and now you can't see me on the camera either. So my apologies for that. But I'm based in Auckland, but I'm here supporting our grant application for providing free education and support to people with asthma and COPD by funding our Wellington nurse educator's salary. So she does do work in the Kapiti Coast region. Asthma New Zealand provides free education, training and support for anyone with asthma or COPD to help them live well and help them have a life where they don't have so many restrictions, and making their life as quality of life the best that they can. Our nurses, we have mobile nurses that are out and about. They travel to where our patients need us. So that might be, the majority of the time is in their own home, so it's accessible for them. It could be at their workplace or on a marae, a community centre, and also at schools. We do also run down in Wellington COPD support groups for the elderly. So those that may have COPD can get together, we can do an educational session, and it's a good support network for them to be able to relate to other people their own age that have the same symptoms and condition. Some stats that you may not be aware of, it really affects New Zealand terribly. Respiratory disease is the third leading cause of death in New Zealand, and we're right up there in one of the highest rates in the world as well. It affects 1 in 8 New Zealanders, both adults and children, and more than 500,000 take medication for their symptoms. Every 2.5 minutes there's an asthma attack, and approximately 2 people die from asthma each week. Asthma deaths are preventable though, and that's where our education and support is critical in addressing this unnecessary loss of life. We have a couple of projects that you may be interested in hearing. Is that we've just recently finished providing all primary schools in New Zealand with an Asthma New Zealand emergency kit, and also a respiratory health program. It's an educational program which is on a digital platform. It's like a game for the children in the schools, so that helps teach them all about respiratory conditions. And also we've just, our latest little project has been putting a vaping animation into that program, since that's really severe epidemic at the moment about young children, especially primary school kids, vaping. So trying to get the message out there on the dangers of that. What else? So for this particular grant, we're seeking funding to sustain our Wellington Asthma New Zealand nurse. Her name's Sylvia Mackey. By funding some of her salary, I think it works out to be 2 weeks worth, so that she can just continue to do the vital work that she does in the Kapiti Coast community. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Angela. Not to be put off, but we have significantly more grants applied for than funds available. I'm just wondering, is the employment is that reliant on this sort of funding?
Yes, most definitely. So we get very, very minimal government funding. The majority of all our revenue is through grants. And at the moment, we're getting the same with all our funders, is that there's just so many people asking for funds out there. There's so many organisations, we can understand the limited amount that's out there these days, but we're desperately looking to fund our nurse educators at the moment, because that is quite sparse.
Okay, and I would just say thank you. We've had the Cancer Society in a number of times through various meetings. The vaping epidemic is real, and you guys would be seeing the pointy end of that, no doubt.
Yes, most definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, we're all sort of struggling at the moment to be able to offer our services free, and also, as I said, accessible to those that may not be able to travel to the doctors. They might not be able to get in. We're just making it easier for the community so that they can get the help that they need.
Okay, thanks, Angela. I've got a question from John Hayes.
Angela, we briefly saw you, I have to report that. So your computer began to, for a very short amount of time, a bit of a tease, we saw you. Could you give an estimation of how much of Angela's time is spent in Kapiti?
Sylvia is the
Sylvia,
Wellington nurse. Yes, I was trying to look up like a percentage. I did look through some reporting before this presentation, and I do know that the number of people that she has seen in Kapiti Coast in particular has increased. 2022, she saw approximately 65 people. 2023, she saw 98. So I'm assuming 2024 will be even more than that.
Right, thank you.
Yes.
The other thing, you mentioned the vaping epidemic, and then the animation. It sort of suggests that you're beginning to reach out beyond your immediate clientele, and you're trying to prevent as much as possible future clients. Is this a new role for Asthma New Zealand or not?
No, it's not. Asthma affects, as I said, 1 in 8 adults and 1 in 8 children, and we find a lot of our work is with children in particular. And even if we go into somebody's home, it may not just be one person, like one child. It's normally a whole family, and that can come down to a number of reasons, with unhealthy homes and mold and cold homes. So we've been reaching out to everybody in the community, from young babies to right up to the COPD patients that have chronic obstruction pulmonary disorder. So no, we've been targeting the children quite a lot, and that is the majority of our work. A large chunk of our work is at the youth in New Zealand. So we've just identified that vaping situation is just getting worse and worse. So it's something that we just slotted into. We did create this respiratory educational health program a few years ago, but now that this vaping situation is becoming worse and worse, we've now we've got some funding from another organisation, and we've just literally the last month finished that, and we've slotted it into our program so that those that are using it will now have something new in there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. Your application will be considered along with all of the rest, and we thank you for your time. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see you, although John did fleetingly.
Flash.
But
No worries. Thank you.
champion,
Thanks
thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much. Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you. So that brings us to Kelty Westling from Kibosh. Oh, sorry, hang on. Oh, I've done the call now. I'm very sorry, Sue. We're just, you okay? Cool. Yep, come on. Sorry. That's,
Is it all right if I stand?
absolutely.
I'm on the-
However you're comfortable. But if you could get as near to the microphone as possible, just because that will pick it up for people online.
Okay. Kia ora koutou, my name is Kelty. I'm the operations manager for our Kapiti branch of Kibosh Food Rescue. Just a little bit about what Kibosh does. We rescue food from various streams, mostly grocery stores, but we're just starting to branch out and work with farmers, producers, growers, which is capturing a lot more food for us. You know, you'll be hearing this all day long, I'm sure, in the current climate. The need in the community is growing. And so at Kibosh, we've started to respond to our charity partners' needs. And out of that has grown our food, our cooking. So Kibosh never used to be a producer of food. We were a food rescuer. And so what we found, though, is a lot of the food that we were capturing from the grocery stores was a portion of it was ending up in compost because it wasn't fit for our food hampers. And so we've started cooking with it out on site. So last month in May, we produced 285 kilos of prepared food. So we're doing things like we've got a commercial grade dehydrator. So we put fruit into crock pots overnight and then puree it and make some fruit leather, which the school children really like. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is our prepared food or our cooked food. So what we found is our charity partners were asking for heat and eat. So these are charities that support clients who are maybe living in their cars, living in campgrounds, emergency housing, situations like that. So they need access to heat and eat food, which we don't generally capture in our regular food collection. But what we've started to do is prepare food on site. So we're doing what we've been calling vegetable stock, because basically what it is vegetables cooked down in a very simple stock. So low allergens, and we're putting it into 1 liter or 400 gram bottles. So these have been very well received by a lot of our charity partners like Waikanai Food Share and Horate Pai and Māori Land Hub. And we've been finding that they're going to the elder community within those charity groups have really picked up and started using them. So they're just like a fruit or vegetable burst to a soup or a stew or a sauce or whatever's being made. But what we found through conversation with our other charity partners is that their clients didn't have the capacity to utilize these. And so out of that grew a cooking class in collaboration with our charity partners. So what we found by creating that space at our facility, so it's very basic. We just have a hot plate, a little countertop oven, a microwave, and our dehydrator. That's all we've got for equipment. But we found that what we could do with that kitchen was provide a very kind of basic cooking experience. So we partnered with Kapiti Birthright, and we ran a trial project of providing cooking classes. And the cooking classes are based solely around our little pots of our veggie pots and our fruit purees. And so we just created a few recipes and experimented with that. But what we found was creating the time and the space allowed the clients to come together and share their different tips and tricks and experiences with stretching food, or who has the, what grocery store stocks the cheapest meat, or when's a good time to shop and get the specials on the meat, or whatever it was. So they found that by having that space and time together, they were allowed to share amongst themselves as well as learn new skills. So what Kibosh doesn't have the budget for is to buy in food. So the majority of the food that we would use for these cooking classes is rescued food, but we do need to buy in the odd, packet of pasta or a bag of flour or whatever we're going to be cooking with. So that's what we've come to you today to apply for, is to just have a pot of money that would allow us to work with our charity partners in collaboration with, to be able to deliver these cooking classes to the community, so they can utilize these kind of basic things that we're putting out.
That's great. Does anybody have questions? Rob?
Oh, Kilty, thanks for that.
Okay.
Kilty, I was involved with the Aotaki Food Bank, and a big expense was meat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a major, isn't it? It's just gone.
Yeah, well, we do
Ballistic.
collect meat from all of our grocery store partners.
Yeah.
So on average, we probably would have between 400 and 500 kilos of frozen meat collected through the
Wow.
week. So we're able to give out probably about 20 to 30 kilos of meat to our charity partners in a week. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Do the local supermarkets assist you with their best used by date stuff?
Yep. So
good.
we collect from all the local grocery stores, barring New World in Waikanae.
Okay.
So we have week or daily donations. So we collect Monday to Friday from all of our local grocery stores. Yeah.
Great. It's a wonderful job you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Keep it
Thank
up.
you.
Shelley?
I'm just wondering where you're going to run the cooking classes from.
So because we have the facility, which I'm hoping to do more with, because our resources are poured into, the hireage of the warehouse and our vehicles and, power and keeping them warm and our chillers and all those things. So what we're hoping is that, sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. What was your question again? Sorry.
Where are you going to hold the cooking classes? Is it in Kapiti or?
Yeah, so on our site, we have a very basic kitchen, which is where we produce these things. So when we were running our trial cooking classes, we ran the classes on our site. But some of our charity partners do have their own kitchen spaces. So it just depends on whether they need to come and utilize our space, or whether or not within collaboration with them that we can go and then go to their space and run the cooking class there. So it just depends. Places like Maori Land Hub up in Otaki, they have a kitchen facility, but then other places like Birthright Otaki, they wouldn't have that. So it just depends on what charity organization we're working with. And also they're very keen on doing a seasonal offering. So the feedback from the clients was that they'd like to do maybe 4 classes through the year. And so the classes that we were running, they averaged between $40 and $50 per class. And we had about between 12 and 15 clients come and engage. And we all ate the meal together at the end of the session. And then they all were able to take leftovers home for their family for that evening. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Kelty. I'll just reiterate we've received far more applications than funding available, but I do want to say what you're doing is brilliant. It's superb work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today, everybody.
Cool, thank you very much. Cheers, thank you. Sue from Paikokriki Speakeasy. Second time lucky. So you guys have got shuffled around a bit when we had all the babies here. I thought it was. Yeah.
And this is Jane Cumming. She's here to support this application. Paikakariki Speakeasy began as a breakaway group from, you've probably heard of Toastmasters, which is a big organisation, and we were part of that organisation for many years. And then after COVID, we realised that it wasn't supporting us. The program that they had was not working for our community and not working for our people. So we've started a new group, and as a result of that, we had a little bit of money in reserve. We had to give that back to Toastmasters, fair enough. So our new little group, we meet every Wednesday morning at the ridiculous hour of 6:45. So you get up at 6:30 in the morning. I know. Why would you do that? So we meet in the St. Peter's Hall in Paikakariki. And our main focus is still on public speaking, is still on helping people to be able to communicate effectively. And we're using the medium really of personal story, and we know how valuable that can be in our lives, you know, that when we're able to express our own personal experiences, how meaningful that is. So and we still have the same format in a way of people speaking and then someone saying, oh, you know, you did really well in this, but you could improve on that. So it really is about improving people's ability to communicate, not necessarily in a public way, but just in any sense of the word. But I think perhaps what is bigger than that for us is really that ability to come as a community together, to meet, to meet each other, even at that hour of the morning, and how incredibly uplifting it is to talk, to be able to share experiences in that way. And the reason why we've asked for money is because we've noticed that for some people, it's a real barrier to coming. For example, a friend of mine, Jane, she really wants to come, but she's on a pension, she's got a rent and da-da-da. So she can't, it's just not financially viable for her. So we'd really love some support so that we can encourage all people to come to these meetings. So we pay, I think it's $1,200 a year to St. Peter's for using the hall. And so we've asked for $600, which is half of that. And that would really mean that we'd be able to just be open to anyone. People would come and they wouldn't even necessarily need to pay. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? I had the one. In terms of encouraging people to speak, and I've seen the value that people have had from those kind of things, which can be enormous, actually, enormously valuable to them. Is there a reach to young people to get young people involved?
I mean, that's the other thing that we really are wanting to do, is to much more publicity, I suppose, for want of a better term, to encourage more people to come in. In the past, we've had young counsellors coming along, and we've got young people coming at the moment. But if we could be able to encourage more of those people, so it's kind of both ends in a way. It's people who are on a fixed income, on a pension, on an unemployment benefit, and also young people. I think we'd really love to have more. At one point, we had someone who was 93 and two 18-year-olds in the same club, and there's just such a richness around that. Yeah. Do you want to say anything? No, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I just think it's fantastic. Oh, Shelley's got a question for you.
I just wanted to, I think I read somewhere, was there 10, how many members do you have?
At the moment we have 12, but we're really working to build that up. I mean, before COVID we had up to 23, which isn't necessarily better, more isn't necessarily better at that kind of meeting, but I think we'd really love to be able to encourage more people to come, and if we, if it was less money, I think people would generally be able to come, So,
Yeah,
thank
for
you.
sure.
And I understand you've got lots of people applying, and
Yeah, we do, we
get
do.
that, yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
the case. But
yeah, yeah.
look, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. Anything that encourages people to speak, because people who haven't done it, we're all, obviously we all can talk. That's how come we got to sit around this table. But for a lot of people, it is difficult, and that's kind of public training is fantastic. So wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming in. Cheers. Susan. Welcome. Susan from Volunteer Kapiti.
I have to do the speakeasy before I get confident talking.
You'll be fine.
Right, so I'm the manager at Volunteer Kapiti. So Volunteer Kapiti, our main mission is to build the capability of the entire Kapiti community sector, including Otaki, so I forgot to tick the box in there. And we do this through providing opportunities for connection, collaboration and volunteering expertise. So we encourage volunteering all out through the community, and we help match people that want to volunteer with volunteer roles all throughout the community sector. So that involves working with community organisations to develop roles, looking at promoting them, getting potential volunteers in, talking to them, understanding their needs, and then matching them with a volunteer role. So it's the whole one-stop shop of volunteering. We also do a lot of work around capability building, training, workshops for community groups as well. And we run the Kapiti Community Network meetings once a month, which are getting huge and really awesome, because we see the sector kind of do more work about really understanding we have to make a difference together, especially with limited resources and funding, and recognising each other's skills within that sector. But I could talk for a long time about that, but I won't. So a massive thank you for having this grant available. What it helps with us is we have funding for our core operational but we always know there's particular areas that we know there's a need and we need to focus on, but we just don't have the capacity. So what this has enabled us to do is look at a key area, which is youth volunteering, and trying to have, hopefully have some funding to enable us to focus on how to create an environment where more youth can volunteer and have roles that are best suited towards what they need. What we're finding in Kapiti in the last few years is there's a bit of a gap between what volunteer roles are available for our groups and what would suit younger people to volunteer. So we know there's heaps of young people that want to volunteer. Just this morning, some of our staff working with the colleges, looking at volunteer roles and ideas of what they can do. So we have young people come to us that have just left school and want that kind of bridge into work, but may need a bit more support. Sometimes they come up as a support worker. We have people who are still at school that want to volunteer, and then people that may come back to Kapiti from uni in the holidays and want to volunteer to utilise their skills. So we've got this huge range. But what we found after talking to Youth Council last year is a lot of the roles that are out there with our current community groups don't really suit young people as much. So what young people are often looking for is short-term roles where there's a real clear connection to the difference they can make and the impact, and there often is, but it needs to be made more transparent. Roles where they can work together and have more social, kind of as friends, because sometimes there's also a safety aspect as well. If you're younger, especially under 18, and volunteering in a group, how do we work around that and support community groups not to be afraid of having younger people volunteering and still have the support around that? And then, of course, the outcomes are huge. You're going to have more opportunities, obviously, for younger people to make a difference and connect to the community. So it builds that social cohesion in Kapiti that we're wanting to do. You're going to have a more diverse and sustainable volunteer workforce, because the problem at the moment is in Kapiti we've got an ageing volunteer workforce, which was very evident in COVID, when a lot of the older people had to stop volunteering. There was quite an impact on how that looked. And it would also help us kind of kickstart. This is the start of our work in this area, so it will give us a template for us to continue all this mahi afterwards and keep the momentum going with younger volunteering. Because there's Duke of Edinburgh Awards, there's this Student Volunteer Army kind of templates. It's huge. It could be, a $100,000 grant if you'd like, but 2,000 will give us a focus and a start.
Great. Susan? John?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for the work you do. I honestly think that you are the grease that keeps this community moving. Wonderful. I'm really interested, as you're aware, we are trying to get some intergenerational projects going. So from what you are saying, there are plenty of people who may be interested in setting up workshops with a bit of technology, perhaps, a bit of metaverse and all screens and sounds and stuff like that. So do you think that we should progress along, we, the age-friendly reference group, should progress along those lines to tap into that resource?
Absolutely, yep, and it's the idea of having those sort of short projects, and we've done a few trials of that with the intergenerational volunteering, and it's been really amazing because both, everyone benefits. The younger people have a chance to show their skills, but they also learn something as well, working with older people, and
we shall have to talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Well, I'll ask a question first. The Kapiti Youth Council. Are you involved with the Kapiti Youth Council?
Yes, so our Bronwyn went and had a chat with Youth Council last year, and this is where really this project has come about. She's sat down and got lots of feedback and really constructive feedback about what would make you want to volunteer and what are the barriers to volunteering, and we kind of collect that throughout the year as well from people. And across, we're part of the Volunteer Centre Network, so there's about 16 of us across New Zealand, and all of us are kind of working in that space in our communities, so we share that information.
Yeah, I find that the Youth Council, they're not shy to tell you what they think, which is excellent.
Which is good because that's what you want.
Yeah, that's what you want, right? Yeah.
And I'd like in this project as well, obviously it's not going to be us working in isolation. I'd like to go back to Youth Council and feedback what we're doing, and also get a youth volunteer to help us along the road as well.
And the $100,000 application.
Yes. I
wish you all the best with that one. But I'll say the same as I've said to everybody else. We've just received far more applications than funding that's available. But I just want to say thank you again. Volunteer Kapiti runs its way through so many of these other organisations that we talk to as well. So thank you very much for the mahi.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
We have next up is from the Wellington Multiple Sclerosis Society, and it's Lacey Reddy, and Lacey is online. I don't know if you can see. Oh, volume. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes. It's clear as a bell. Fabulous.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lacey Reddy, and I'm the Community Advisor for Wellington Multiple Sclerosis, covering Wellington right through to the Kapiti Coast. Just here to support or to speak to the grant application that we've made. So the work we do is guided by our mission statement, which is to empower people with MS to live their best lives. So everything we do is person-focused, person-driven, that it can include their whānau and friends as well. So we provide culturally safe, specific to each individual stage of MS, their natural supports, their values and beliefs, and just empower them however they choose. We primarily offer a by request service, so people connect with us when they have a medical diagnosis of MS, and we just ask them what support or what do you need to know about your journey. The average age of diagnosis with MS is 33 and typically female, so they might not know some of the supports and resources that are available to them. So my job is to help guide them to see where they're at and what supports they would like. Some people want every support they can have access to, and some people don't want any. So it's really a journey that is driven by that person. We also receive referrals from whānau and friends, from the MS nurse that we have in Wellington, and from other allied healthcare providers as well. Information and advocacy are two of our key roles. Again, informing people, making them aware, advocating for people when they are necessary. And the other component as well is community. A diagnosis of MS comes with quite a lot of uncertainty. So sharing your journey with people who get it at a gut level is so valuable to so many of the people we support. So on the Kapiti Coast, I facilitate two support groups, one specifically for men, which kind of it just happened quite organically, and then another more generic one where anyone can come along. We're also really strategic with how we run our support groups as well. We recognise that someone who's been on the MS journey for some time might have a different degree of disability to some who's newly diagnosed. So ensuring that both parties are respected is really important for us as well. Some of the key highlights that I thought I would encourage you with some of the work that we've done this past year is that a lovely young woman in the Kapiti Coast did get awarded the Dorothy Hamilton Scholarship from Multiple Sclerosis New Zealand, which is a scholarship which allows her to retrain. Again, a diagnosis of MS can bring uncertainty, so diversifying your career options for her is super important. So that was wonderful to see. She was awarded that scholarship, which we helped her apply for and get access to. We also have a peer support program which we launched this year, again recognising that lived experiences of people with MS is so much more are so valuable. Again, they get it at that gut level that no one can take away from them. So yeah, we'd just really love some funding to be able to continue what we do. The service we provide is free, so it continues to have a free service. We have around 53 members up in the Kapiti Coast, because not everyone with MS is a member of our society, but as we grow awareness and break down some of those barriers to accessing our services, if people are too shy, too nervous, just don't know we exist, we can provide better support to them and just let them live their best lives that are possible for them. So thank you for your time. I know you're busy and running late, so I won't keep you waiting.
No, thank you, Lacey. That's fabulous. Do we have any questions for Lacey? Actually, I had a couple, but you just answered them with the last bit, just about how many people on the Kapiti Coast. Where does the group? Where do they meet?
We meet in cafes
Oh,
and in
right,
people's
okay.
homes as well. So there's a few, I'm very aware of the accessible cafes
Mm.
in the Kapiti Coast now, because some of our members come in power chairs, and we have built quite a good relationship that we hope is mutually beneficial for the cafe, that we're purchasing food, and we strategically have them on Mondays, which are maybe a quieter days for some cafes. And then we sometimes meet in people's homes when we might facilitate like a midwinter Christmas dinner we've got coming up, and just a Christmas lunch. So that's where we are a work from home based charity. So meeting in cafes and being respectful of those owners and building up good relationships is, like I said, mutually beneficial for us both. Yeah.
And look, I apologise for not knowing this, but you did say that the average age in gender was a 33-year-old female, but are there many older people with MS?
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, yes. And recently, I actually had a lovely woman who was actually in her 70s recently diagnosed. So as we supported her on her journey, especially when there's access to some what we refer to as disease-modifying therapies available to her, she's been on quite a journey, because we know that our disease-modifying therapies aren't benign. They do come with their own risks and challenges. So journeying with her through that as she's deciding whether she wants to begin on one or not has been I think really valuable for her. Just again, someone neutral to listen to share gosh, not my ideas or my opinions, but just the experiences that other people have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Lacey. Really, no other questions. So thank you very much. Really appreciate the input.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye. Tony Hart, the cobbler's soup. could be lunch. Could be bringing lunch. Cobbler's soup. Cobbler's soup, I love the name, actually. It's very Dickensian. If he's, Aaron's just gone to have a quick look, so if there's nobody lurking in the hallways,
Bit of a plug.
if you don't think that's going to put you at a disadvantage when it comes
I
to...
don't have anything to do with them, I just know they're very valuable in the community.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. No, I'm reading up on what they do. Sounds good to me. Cobbler soup. Is a new freezer. I see. Yeah. Nope. Okay. Well, that takes us to just about ahead of time, but we're right, pretty much on time. So lunch, and we are due to reconvene at 12:45. So half an hour is probably not bad, yeah? A little bit truncated, but great. We will adjourn until 12:45. Soup and rolls, yes.
Yeah.